The river was louder than usual that evening, swollen by melting mountain snow and roaring like an angry beast. Jake Rowan, a lone cowboy known for keeping more distance from people than cattle, rode along the bank with his hat pulled low against the wind. He had spent most of his life avoiding trouble, but trouble somehow always found him. That day, it came in the form of a scream, a sharp, desperate cry swallowed by the raging water. Jake's boots hit the ground before his mind caught up. A glimpse of motion, dark hair, a torn doeskin dress, was all he saw before he dove into the icy current. The river slammed into him like a wall. It stole his breath, numbed his body, and dragged him under. But he fought through it, pushing toward the sinking figure. His fingers brushed her arm. Then he gripped tight, kicking with every ounce of strength left. By the time he reached the shore, he could barely breathe. The woman lay motionless, lips blue, chest still. "Come on, don't you dare quit on me," he muttered, kneeling beside her. Jake had performed CPR once before, years back on his younger brother, who didn't survive. His hands shook, but he positioned them anyway, pressing firmly, rhythmically. He breathed for her when she couldn't, refusing to let another life slip away under his watch. Minutes passed like hours. Then her body jerked. She gasped violently, coughing river water onto his shirt. Her eyes fluttered open, deep, fierce, and scared. "You're safe," Jake said gently, helping her sit. "You fell into the river." She stared at him like she was trying to solve a puzzle. Her voice was hoarse, barely a whisper. "You saved me, white man." He nodded. She touched her chest where his hands had pressed. Her eyes widened, not with fear, but something else. Recognition? Alarm? He couldn't tell. Before he could ask her anything, she looked toward the distant pines where shadows gathered. "My people," she murmured. "They will come." Jake helped her stand, noticing a sharp pain in her gait. She tried to pull away, but her ankle buckled, and he caught her again. "I ain't leaving you here like this," he said. But the woman looked at him with urgency, almost panic. "You do not understand," she whispered. "What you have done has consequences." He frowned. "I only saved your life." She shook her head slowly, her dark hair dripping with river water. "Among my people, when a man gives breath to a woman, her life becomes tied to his." Jake blinked. "Tied? What does that mean?" But she didn't answer. Instead, she looked behind him with dread. And that's when he heard it. Hooves pounding the earth, war cries rising, riders coming through the trees, and every single one of them had their eyes locked on him. Jake instinctively stepped in front of the injured woman, though he had no weapon besides the small hunting knife on his belt. The thundering hooves grew, louder until 8 Apache warriors emerged from the tree line, their paint bright in the fading sun, their expressions carved from stone. The woman clutched Jake's arm and whispered urgently, "Do not raise your hands unless they ask. Do not speak unless spoken to. They think you harmed me." "Well, that's just perfect," Jake muttered. The warriors dismounted swiftly. One of them, a broad-shouldered man with hawk feathers braided into his hair, approached with a spear leveled at Jake's chest. Jake didn't flinch. The woman limped forward and raised her hands weakly. "Nantan, he saved my life. The river took me. He did not harm me." The man she called Nantan studied Jake with eyes sharp as obsidian. Then he turned back to the woman. "How did he save you?" The question hung heavy in the air. Jake felt her hesitation before she spoke. "He gave me breath," she said quietly. "He touched my chest to wake my heart." A ripple went through the group. Murmurs, shock. One warrior spat in the dirt. Another muttered a prayer. Jake's brows knitted. All right. Someone want to tell me why that's such a problem? Nantan faced him squarely. Among us, to give breath is an act of binding. Only a husband may give breath to his wife in such a way. Jake nearly choked. Now hold on. Silence, Nantan snapped. The woman lowered her gaze, her cheeks flushed with humiliation or fear. Jake couldn't tell. It was the only way I could survive, she whispered. Nantan exhaled deeply, torn between anger and duty. You have joined her spirit to yours, he said. By the laws of our ancestors. She belongs to you now. Jake felt the ground tilt. I wasn't trying to. Look, I didn't know. It does not matter what you meant. Nantan's voice softened slightly, though his stare remained cold. Intention is wind. Action is stone. The woman stepped beside Jake, trembling from more than cold. If he rejects this bond, she said, my people will see me as shamed, dishonored. Jake swallowed. And what happens to me? Nantan replied without hesitation. You will return with us. You have taken responsibility for one of our women. You must prove your intentions. If you refuse. He tapped the butt of his spear on the earth. Blood will answer instead. Jake lifted his hands slowly. I don't want trouble. Then you will come. Jake met the woman's gaze. Her eyes held something new, hope mixed with fear, gratitude entwined with uncertainty. She whispered, You have saved my life twice now. Just doing what's right, he whispered back. But as the warriors formed a circle around him and the woman, guiding them toward the forest, Jake knew this was only the beginning. He had saved her from the river. But now he might drown in her world instead. The Apache camp glowed with firelight, shadows dancing across hides stretched over wooden frames. Drums throbbed somewhere deeper inside, slow and steady as a heartbeat. Jake felt every pair of eyes in the village on him as he was led through. Curious, wary, accusing. The woman walked beside him, steadying herself on a carved walking stick offered by an elder. Each step made her wince, but she held her chin high. She had courage, enough for both of them. Her name, Jake finally learned, was Kiona. Inside the chief's lodge, the air smelled of sage and smoke. The chief, an elderly man with silver-streaked braids and eyes like dark glass, studied Jake silently. Kiona knelt before him, lowering her head. My father, she said softly. Jake blinked. Father? The chief's expression tightened. You returned to us alive. That is blessing enough. But this matter... He turned his gaze to Jake. White Cowboy, you did what few would dare. You saved my daughter. For that, I honor you. Jake bowed his head. Anyone would have done the same. No, the chief corrected. Not anyone. But the breath you gave her binds you now. Jake shifted uncomfortably. I never meant to disrespect your ways. You did not, the chief said. The river brought you together. Perhaps for a reason we cannot yet see. Kiona looked up. Father, he did not seek a bond. He acted to save a life, not to claim a wife. The chief nodded thoughtfully. A bond can be chosen or broken, but both paths have weight. Jake exhaled slowly. What does breaking it mean? The chief stared into the fire. If the bond is severed, Kiona bears the burden. She becomes marked by the spirits as one who offered her breath to a man who refused it. No man of our people would take her. She would live alone, dishonored. Jake's stomach twisted. He looked at Kiona, who held her breath as if bracing for a blow. And if I accept? He asked quietly. You take her as your partner, the chief replied. Not as property, as one whose life is tied to yours. You would be welcome among us. Or she may go with you. Kiona whispered. The choice is yours. Jake stared at her, really stared, at the strength in her eyes, the courage in her posture, the vulnerability she tried to hide. She had almost died. He had pulled her back. Now her entire fate hung on his next words. He thought of the river, of the way her hand had clutched his sleeve when she woke, of the fear in her voice when she said, "You saved me twice." Jake took a breath. "I won't leave her to suffer for something that wasn't her fault," he said firmly. "If my actions tied us together, then I accept it." Kiona's lips parted in a soft gasp. Relief, disbelief, something warmer. The chief smiled for the first time. "Then tonight, we honor the bond." As the drums grew louder outside, Kiona stepped closer, her hand trembling slightly as she placed it in Jake's. "You saved my life," she whispered. "Now I will share it with you." And for the first time in years, Jake Rowan felt like he wasn't a lone cowboy anymore. He was part of something bigger, something unexpected, wild, and incredibly alive.